Have you ever watched someone get thrown out of a place and thought you knew exactly why, only to realize you didn't know a single thing? That's what happened at the Hargrove Grand Hotel in downtown Cleveland on a Tuesday afternoon in March. And I want to tell you about it, because what went down in that lobby changed the lives of everyone involved. Some for the better, some not so much. Let's start at the beginning. The Hargrove Grand had been the crown jewel of Cleveland's hotel scene for 22 years. 34 floors of polished marble, brass fixtures, and the kind of quiet that only money can buy. The lobby alone had a chandelier that cost more than most people's houses, 3,000 individually hand-cut crystals imported from Austria, hung above a floor so glossy you could see your own reflection looking up at you as you walked across it. The hotel's general manager was a man named Fletcher Odom, 51 years old, white. Square jaw, silver hair slicked back with the kind of precision that told you he practiced it. He'd been running the Hargrove Grand for 11 years, and in those 11 years, he had cultivated a very specific idea of what the hotel was and who belonged in it. Fletcher wasn't loud about his prejudices. He was too smart for that. He smiled. He used the word standards a lot. He talked about the brand and the guest experience the way other people talked about religion. But the staff knew. The long-term regulars knew. If you walked through the front doors of the Hargrove Grand in the wrong clothes, the wrong shoes, with the wrong kind of face, Fletcher Odom's eyes would find you before you'd taken 3 steps inside. And on that Tuesday in March, they found Nadia Osi. Nadia was 26 years old. She was a black woman, 5'4", with close-cropped natural hair and the kind of face that looked younger than her age, which, as she would tell you herself, had never once been an advantage in a professional setting. She was wearing dark jeans, a gray hoodie, and a pair of beaten-up New Balance sneakers. Her tote bag was canvas. Her phone had a cracked screen held together with a strip of clear tape. She walked into the lobby of the Hargrove Grand at 2:17 p.m. and asked the woman at the front desk if she could speak to someone in management about a reservation issue. The front desk associate, a young woman named Becca, who had been on the job for 8 months and had already learned to read Fletcher's preferences the way soldiers learn to read weather, hesitated. She glanced at Nadia's hoodie, at her sneakers, at the tote bag. "What kind of reservation?" Becca asked. "A block booking," Nadia said, "for the Aldridge conference. We had some changes to the room count, and I need to confirm the adjusted rate." Becca typed something into her computer, looked at the screen, typed again. "I'm sorry," she said. "I don't see. Could you spell the name?" "Aldridge," Nadia said. "Aldridge Capital. The booking should be under that name." Becca found it. Her expression changed slightly. Just a flicker, because the Aldridge Capital reservation was one of the largest block bookings the hotel had taken in 3 years. 72 rooms over 4 nights, the penthouse suite, 3 conference halls, catering for 400 guests. She was still trying to figure out what to do when Fletcher Odom appeared. He had a talent for that, appearing. He moved through his lobby the way a landlord moves through a property he owns, which technically he didn't, but you'd never know it by the way he carried himself. He looked at Nadia, took in the hoodie, the sneakers, the cracked phone. "Can I help you?" he said. His voice was pleasant. It was always pleasant. That was the thing about Fletcher. "I was just asking about the Aldridge booking," Nadia said. She turned to include him naturally, unhurried, the way someone does when they're not worried about the outcome of a conversation. "And you are?" Fletcher said. "Nadia Osi. I'm coordinating the conference." Fletcher smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. "I see," he said. "And do you have some form of identification? A business card, perhaps?" Nadia looked at him for a moment, just a moment. "I left my cards in the car," she said, "but I can pull up my email on my phone if that helps." "Of course," Fletcher said, still smiling. "Why don't you have a seat in the lounge area while we sort this out? We'll send someone over." He gestured toward a row of chairs near the side entrance. Not the main seating area with the low leather couches and the complimentary water service. The chairs near the side entrance, next to the luggage storage alcove, where deliverymen sat while they waited for signatures. Nadia looked at the chairs, looked back at Fletcher. She sat down. She sat there for 22 minutes. Nobody came. She watched the lobby, watched the way Fletcher greeted a middle-aged couple in matching golf polos, shaking the man's hand, touching the woman's elbow, personally walking them to the check-in desk. Watched the way a bellman materialized out of nowhere to take the luggage of a businessman in a charcoal suit before the man had even stopped moving. Nobody came to see Nadia. At the 22-minute mark, she stood up, walked back to the front desk, and waited. Becca looked up, looked back at her screen, looked up again. "I'm sorry," Becca said. "I'm not sure. Let me find Mr. Odom." "Actually," said a voice to Nadia's left, "I'll take it from here." It was Fletcher. He had appeared again. "Miss Osei," he said, "I've had a chance to look into the Aldridge booking, and I think there may have been a miscommunication on our end. This is a corporate account, and our protocol for changes to corporate reservation requires authorization from the account holder directly. We can't make adjustments based on a coordinator's request without that documentation." Nadia tilted her head slightly. "That's fine," she said. "I'm not making adjustments. I'm confirming adjustments that were already submitted in writing last week. I just need someone to verify the updated room count is reflected correctly in your system." "Yes," Fletcher said. "And that's exactly the kind of thing we'd need to run through our corporate relations team. It's not something I'd be able to help you with today. I'd suggest reaching out via email and someone will get back to you within 5 to 7 business days." 5 to 7 business days. The conference was in 9 days. Nadia looked at him. "The conference starts in 9 days," she said. "I understand that," Fletcher said, "and I'm sorry for the inconvenience. But our protocols exist for a reason." He smiled, the same smile. "I appreciate you coming in," he said, and the sentence was structured in a way that meant something slightly different from what the words said. It meant, "We're done here." Nadia stood still for a moment. The lobby hummed around them. Someone's heels clicked across the marble. The chandelier threw light across the floor in fractured patterns. "Mr. Odom," she said. "Yes?" "Who owns this hotel?" Fletcher blinked. Just once. "The Hargrove Grand is a privately held property," he said. "Is there something specific?" "I know it's privately held," Nadia said. "I'm asking who owns it." Something shifted in Fletcher's face. "Not much." "But something. The property is held by an investment group," he said carefully. "Aldridge Capital," Nadia said. The lobby was very quiet. "Aldridge Capital acquired this property 14 months ago," Nadia continued. Her voice was the same, even, unhurried. "The Aldridge Conference next week is the firm's first major event at this location since the acquisition. It's essentially a showcase for the firm's leadership team and their largest clients." She reached into her tote bag and pulled out her phone, the one with the cracked screen, and placed it face up on the front desk. On the screen was an email. Fletcher's eyes moved to it involuntarily. The email was addressed to Nadia Osei. Her title below her name in the signature block read, "Chief of Staff, Office of the CEO, Aldridge Capital." Fletcher read it. Read it again. He went very still. "I was trying to handle a small logistical detail quietly," Nadia said. "I didn't want to make it a thing. I would have preferred not to involve anyone above my pay grade." She paused. "But since you've made it clear that you can't assist me today, I'll make a call. And then someone above both our pay grades will be involved." She picked up her phone. Fletcher Odom opened his mouth, closed it. "Ms. Osei," he said. His voice was different now. The pleasantness was still there, but it had changed texture, thinner, like paint over rust. "Please, there's no need. I'm sure we can resolve this directly. I apologize if our process was, if there was any." "Mr. Odom," Nadia said. He stopped. "I've been sitting by your luggage storage alcove for 22 minutes, she said. "I watched you personally escort 2 guests to the front desk while I sat there. I watched a bellman appear for a man in a suit in under 30 seconds. She looked at him. "I don't think this is a process issue." The front desk was very quiet. Becca had stopped typing. Fletcher Odom stood in the lobby of the hotel he had managed for 11 years and felt the floor shifting under him. What Nadia did next was not what he expected. She didn't make a scene. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't take a photo or post anything or ask to speak to anyone's supervisor in the way that people do when they want to perform their outrage for an audience. She made one phone call, turned slightly away, spoke for about 45 seconds, and then ended the call and put her phone back in her bag. "Someone from corporate will be here in about 20 minutes," she said. "I'd suggest you use that time however you think best." Then she walked to the main seating area, the one with the low leather couches and the complimentary water, and sat down. A moment later, one of the hotel staff appeared with a glass of sparkling water and set it in front of her without being asked. Fletcher watched this happen. He walked to his office, closed the door, sat down at his desk. He opened the hotel's ownership records. He'd seen them, of course, at the time of the acquisition. He remembered a lot of names and numbers, a lot of documents he'd been required to sign. He hadn't paid particular attention to the organizational chart on the Aldridge side. He'd thought of it as an abstraction: investors, capital, an LLC with a name. The day-to-day management of the hotel had remained with him, as it always had. He found the org chart. He found Nadia Ose's name, Chief of Staff, Office of the CEO. He kept reading. There was a second document, a letter from the CEO's office that had been sent to hotel management 14 months ago, when the acquisition closed. Fletcher had received it. He'd read it then with the polite, vague attention he gave to anything he considered administrative formality. He read it again now. The office of the CEO will conduct unannounced site visits at all Aldridge-owned properties over the course of the next 18 months as part of our operational assessment. Representatives of the office may present as ordinary visitors or guests. The purpose of these visits is to evaluate service standards, staff conduct, and alignment with Aldridge's commitment to equitable hospitality. The letter was dated 14 months ago. Fletcher sat back in his chair. He thought about the 22 minutes Nadia had spent by the luggage storage alcove. He thought about the smile he'd given her. He thought about the phrase 5 to 7 business days. He thought about the fact that she had a cracked phone screen and a canvas tote bag and New Balance sneakers. And he understood, with the particular clarity that only comes too late, that those were not accidents. That someone who is the chief of staff to the CEO of an investment firm that owns 37 properties across 8 states does not walk into one of those properties in beaten-up sneakers by mistake. His office phone rang. He already knew who it was before he picked it up. The call lasted 11 minutes. The man on the other end of the line was Everett Aldridge, 63 years old, the founder and CEO of Aldridge Capital. His voice was the same on the phone as it was in every interview and profile piece that had ever been written about him. Measured, direct, with a quality of patience that somehow made everything it touched more serious, not less. He did not shout. He did not threaten. He said a number of things in a quiet, clear voice, and when he was finished, he asked if Fletcher had any questions. Fletcher said no. "Good," Everett Aldridge said. "Then I'll leave the rest to HR." The call ended. Fletcher sat in his office for a long time after that. What happened in the days that followed was not quiet. The Hargrove Grand's HR department, which answered ultimately not to Fletcher but to the ownership group, opened a formal review the following morning. They pulled security footage. They interviewed Becca and 3 other front desk staff. They reviewed Fletcher's communication records and found a pattern that was, as one HR document would later describe it, inconsistent with equitable service standards. Fletcher Odom was placed on administrative leave 4 days before the Aldridge conference began. He was terminated 11 days later. It was not announced publicly. These things rarely are. But in the particular world of Cleveland hotel management, word traveled fast, and the reason, if not the exact details, was not difficult to piece together. Fletcher had managed the Hargrove Grand for 11 years. He had a reputation. People who had worked under him, or alongside him, or simply around him, found that the news landed with a weight that was different from surprise. It didn't surprise them. That was its own kind of verdict. The Aldridge conference went ahead as planned. Nadia Osi coordinated it from the ground floor to the penthouse, the way she coordinated everything, methodically, quietly, with a competence that the hotel staff found startling and then quickly found normal, because that was the thing about Nadia. 5 minutes with her and the startling part faded, and what was left was just the work, done well. She had a brief conversation with Becca on the first morning of the conference. Becca had expected to be let go, had spent 4 nights barely sleeping, replaying her hesitation at the front desk, the glance at Nadia's sneakers. "You did your job," Nadia told her. "You found the booking. You were going to get someone. I should have." Becca started. "You were 8 months in," Nadia said, "working under someone who set a particular tone. I know how that works." She looked at Becca. "Do better when you're the one setting the tone." Becca nodded. She didn't trust herself to say anything. "The conference runs through Thursday," Nadia said. "I'll need someone at the front desk who knows the Aldridge block cold." "You up for it?" Becca said yes. On the last evening of the conference, Everett Aldridge walked through the lobby on his way to a dinner with 3 of his senior partners. He was a tall man, lean, with close-cut gray hair and the worn look of someone who had been working since before it was fashionable to work hard. He didn't look like a man who owned 37 properties across 8 states. He looked like a high school shop teacher who had aged well. He stopped at the front desk, spoke to Becca for a moment, thanked her by name. Then he crossed the lobby to where Nadia was standing near the conference hall entrance, reviewing something on her still cracked screen phone. "How'd it go?" he said. "Smoothly," she said. "Any issues?" "Nothing that mattered." He looked at her for a moment. "You could have called me from the lobby," he said. "Day one." "I know," she said, "but you didn't." "I wanted to see how it played out," she said. "You learn more that way." Everett Aldridge nodded slowly. He had hired Nadia 2 years ago, at 24, after she'd spent 18 months as a junior analyst running circles around people with twice her experience and 3 times her credentials. He had promoted her to chief of staff 11 months after that, which had raised a number of eyebrows. The kind that are raised not by people who doubt the decision, but by people who are embarrassed they didn't make it themselves. "And what did you learn?" he said. Nadia looked across the lobby. The chandelier was throwing its fractured light across the floor. The marble was gleaming. At the front desk, Becca was helping a guest with a keycard issue, patient and focused. "That the lobby tells you everything," Nadia said. "You can read 1,000 customer satisfaction surveys and never know half what you learn from walking through the front door in the wrong shoes." Everett Aldridge smiled. It reached his eyes. "Write it up," he said. "I want to see a protocol already drafted," she said. He laughed, just once. Then he walked toward the exit to meet his partners. "I've thought about this story a lot since I first heard it, and here's what stays with me. Not the badge moment, not the reveal, not the part where Fletcher Odom sat in his office reading a 14-month-old letter with fresh eyes. Those are satisfying, sure. We all love watching someone who abused a little bit of power get reminded that power is always relative. But what actually gets me is the 22 minutes. 22 minutes that Nadia Ose sat by a luggage alcove while a man in a nice suit decided she wasn't worth his time. She knew exactly who she was the whole time. She wasn't waiting to be validated. She was just watching, taking notes in her head, learning something that no briefing document could have taught her. That's the part I want you to think about. Because most of us, in that situation, would have said something, pushed back, made a call immediately, done something to prove the point in real time. And honestly, nobody would blame us. Fletcher deserved every bit of that. But Nadia understood something that most people take a long time to learn. You don't have to fight every battle the moment it starts. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is stay still and let someone show you exactly who they are. And then do something that actually matters with what you've seen. She didn't walk into that hotel to make a point. She walked in to do a job. She walked out having done 2. I love that. If this story hit you the way it hit me, drop a comment below. Tell me, have you ever been in a room where someone looked right through you? What did you do? I read every single comment, and honestly, your stories are always better than anything I could write. If you're new here, this is Dale Stories. We find the moments that the world almost missed, and we make sure they get told right. Subscribe if that sounds like your kind of thing. And share this one with someone who needs to hear it today. Because Fletcher Odom isn't the last Fletcher Odom, but neither is Nadia OC the last Nadia OC, and that I think is reason enough to keep going.